Um, Next item, item number 2 is roll call, please. And who's going to take care of roll call? Kyle, which staff person I refer to? Kyle, are you going to take care of roll call for us?
Do I need like a roll call list or?
You probably would. I can take care of
Okay.
it then.
Thank you.
Hang on a second. That's okay. We're managing. Oh, let's see. Do we have David McDowell?
Here.
Tucson Sarion?
Here.
Oh, switch over. Who's next? I'm looking for who's in line. Belinda Higuera?
Here.
Vaughn, and I'm sorry, I haven't learned your whole name yet.
Boyinger.
Thank you. Boyinger. Alan Pardee.
Here.
And who are we missing?
Paul.
Paul Beck is noted as absent. And so that's what. And then myself, Melanie Findling, chair, is present. Okay. Next item is public comment. This is a time where people can address the Planning Commission on a subject that is not on tonight's agenda. So if anybody has requested to speak to us in the chat, or if anybody there in the audience would like to speak, you have 3 minutes. Is there anyone in the audience there? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, lovely. And either Kyle or Todd, would one of you please be in charge of timing our speaker?
Oh, sure.
Todd, all right, that will be you. So our speaker has 3 minutes, and please introduce yourself.
Well, nobody told me I was on until you did, so can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Great. Okay, first of all, I would like to say again that I am very pleased with this hybrid meetings because I wouldn't have been able to attend in the last 5 months if I'd had to come to them.
Please introduce yourself. Could you please introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry, Betty Krieger.
Thank you.
So did you hear what I just said? Do I have to repeat what I said?
No, we heard that you were pleased with the hybrid meetings. Thank you.
Okay. So anyway, but they tend to start late, and I just want to make that comment. It would be nice if they started on time. The other comment that I have to make is I am concerned that, and I think others are as well, that our city planner that we took a year or longer to get has now taken an extended leave of absence after, what, about 6 months? I rarely disagreed with her. I thought she was doing a really good job. And I hope that she decides to return after her extended leave. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Is anybody else wanting to speak with us on something not on the agenda this evening? And I'll need your help in there at the city park. If you could signal yes or no. Is there anybody in the audience physically there who wants to speak?
There's nobody here.
No.
Okay, and anybody in the chat?
No.
Okay, great. Then thank you. I will move us to item 4. So this is listed as a consent agenda item, but so normally if commissioners, if you want to discuss, we can move it off the consent agenda. Are there any comments, questions, changes that need to be made? Otherwise, we can take a motion as per the consent agenda direction.
On item 6, it should be, at the very end, it should be Commissioner McDowell instead of Commissioner Beck.
Item 6. Okay, so I guess that means we take it off the consent agenda, which I don't think is a big deal. No, not at all. But we'll go ahead and just do it as we normally do it. Okay, so at the end, it should be, yeah. Although, you know what?
Did Paul leave too?
Paul also left. So I think that one might be right, but maybe we didn't have the note that you left before we started short-term rentals. I think that may be where it should go, at the end of item 5.
Well, it looks like it says that you recused yourself.
Okay, then we're good. I thought that was just another note that I left. We're fine.
Okay, then do we have a motion to accept them as submitted?
Yep.
Yep.
That David moves, Alan second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion. So the motion passes unanimously to adopt the minutes from April 19th. So our next item is item number 5, case number 2022.11, the Summit Lofts building renovation architectural review, which is coming back to us. And I believe Kyle, maybe give us a quick little introduction, if you would, and then talk to us about yourself. Introduce yourself again, please, for everybody, and then go ahead with the project, please.
Of course, yeah. Thank you, Melanie. My name is Kyle Rathbone. I am a contract planner for the city, filling in for Teresa Spade in the interim. So yeah, this project was approved at the last Planning Commission meeting, contingent on the conditions of approval stipulated by the Planning Commission. And this project is exterior changes proposed to an existing commercial structure at 103 East Lake Street. So those conditions were a revised A-frame plan, which has been submitted and approved by Public Works and the Building Department. The revised lighting plan, which has been approved by the city planner, and the modification to the hours of patio lighting and patio operation, which has been agreed to by the applicant. So all of the conditions for approval have been met by the city standards. So again, this project was approved last time, but the required public noticing to citizens within 300 feet had not been carried out. So since then, that requirement has been rectified and the public noticing has been done. So administratively, what is needed has all been done, and now we're looking for final approval on this.
So if I can change one note on that is with the A-frame design, just technicality, until we actually have the approval, we can't submit the plans, but we have revisions. But other than that,
You can't submit it to
the building
inspector?
inspector. Why, I don't know, but that's what I heard from the building inspector today, so.
Okay, anything else you want to add to this, Kyle? Or
I think that's it. Yes, this has been, addressed previously, but we're just returning to it due to the misstep of not doing the public noticing, which has since been corrected. But otherwise, it's the same project, just with the approved conditions that was before this commission previously. So.
okay, great. Well then, let me open up to commissioner comments and questions. Let's start with David, please.
I don't have anything.
Okay, and this would be for Kyle. How about Tucson?
I was glad to get the public comment from the next door neighbor in support of the project and even the noise level of the new units, even though they're not all up. I guess they had a chance to test them out and found that they were relatively quiet. I'm not sure about how 7 of them would perform in a noise test, but I guess, that's to be determined. And I'm just wondering from the owners if it was ever considered to put those units on the east side of the building, around the corner or on the roof. I know this is not a back and forth thing, but when they come up, I guess I can ask questions. The ADA aspect to the patio, the new patio courtyard, it's really more of a building department issue. They're going to probably flag that, as my guess, because there wouldn't be public access from the sidewalk. But I'm not sure it's in our purview as commissioners to address that, because it's more of a building department
Right.
issue. I saw in the write-up here about the lighting, the unshielded lighting, that the staff is recommending the removal of the string lights. Kyle, is that correct?
I believe they revised the location to keep them below the fence line is, I believe, what
Yeah,
the plan included.
the condition of approval on the staff side last time was string lights to be lowered below the fence line, and there was a spec sheet in the packet.
Yeah, it was on page 10, under facts supporting the finding, at the kind of the mid part of that, the bottom part of that paragraph. It says, staff recommends that the project plan be modified to remove the string lighting, as it would likely be a nuisance to the neighbor. And I'm wondering if that was just left over from last time, or if we have kind of remedied that issue.
So not having interaction with the planner before she left, I don't know. But we're moving in a direction where we're responding to the conditions of approval in terms of staff items.
Okay.
Do we have a conclusion about that? I'm not clear. Have we sorted that?
So I think that's a remnant, but I can't say that for sure. That's up to the discretion of the planning commission. The planning commission last time requested as part of the conditions that we lower those string lights below the level of the fence.
Okay. So we'll make sure that's sorted by us before we're done.
Thank you.
As far as the unshielded aspect of it, these look like pretty low watt lights, being 1 watt. It sounds like it's more of a very low level lighting. That's what it looks like to me. And then as far as the A-frame at the entrance, does our current design guidelines allow for metal to come all the way down like straight, like a part of a wall, for one question? Does Kyle have the design guidelines available? Because I wasn't able to pull them up.
I do not have them right now, I believe.
I don't think our design guidelines are that specific.
They're not, yeah, it's,
about that, actually, yeah.
right. And,
It would be more, I think the issue was maybe more a building code and encroachment issue, is my understanding. Does that sound right?
yes, and the applicants may want to address this, but I don't think that aspect has changed since the approval last time.
Our approval last time was contingent upon the building department and public works deciding that we would meet the requirements around encroachment in this location and the public works concerns about snow removal. But it sounds like we can't get the building department to weigh in until we approve it in theory?
Well, no, we had a meeting post the last planning commission where everybody was involved and the plans were shown. And the building inspector saw no issues with the design, per changes. And, Public Works had no issue with the snow removal.
There we go. Okay. Tucson, I'm sorry if
okay.
I'm clarifying. Fine, if you have anything else.
I guess my main kind of biggest question is around the 3-foot encroachment over the property line into the sidewalk. Since it's coming all the way down, that what's called an architectural feature, but it's kind of a structural feature as well, with a little foundation coming out of the property line into the city sidewalk, basically. I just want to make sure that that is admissible and permittable per code for with our city regulations and such.
Yeah.
Because it's usually up high. It's usually they can encroach up 7 feet or higher.
Yeah. We need, I believe it's 4 feet of clear zone, which is the distance between the curb and the face of the building, the furthest extended portion of the building.
So that's how it's worked out, is from the curb to a face of a building, and that's how it's kind of written in our regulations. I just haven't seen it. I'm not familiar with that.
No, our code isn't written that way. That's just standard ADA stuff, 4 foot, isn't it? Isn't that what you're saying?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. I just
how much does this leave Tucson between this new stairway?
It's 7 feet, because I believe it's a 10-foot space between the building and the curb.
Between the A-frame and
but between the A-frame, outer edge of the A-frame to the curb. So there's, as far as a space issue goes, it seems fine.
3 foot. Nothing.
Yeah, so I just didn't want to create a precedent that now everyone can encroach into the sidewalk 3 feet. That was my main concern.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. Todd, how do we, do they have a special circumstance that we could cite in the future or something like that? Or what's the deal?
Well, it comes down to, really comes down to, do we have enough space for that clear zone, the ability to get ADA access through there? If it's a design guideline that you don't like, that's a different story, but you've already provided approval for this.
No, we look at site use. We're not just restricted to ADA or something like that. This is our public sidewalk. We look at that and the parking and everything else. It's not like we don't look at pedestrian access and continuity.
But one of my concern is that we're reopening the box on the last hearing.
Well, the design has changed enough to bring up the question, just because the canopy is coming all the way down to the sidewalk. That's what's changed in between last time and this time.
In the head. Now it's down to the ground. Is there a solution to that problem?
Okay, I thought that was there last time.
No.
No.
Okay,
It was
my
a
apologies.
different design, yeah.
Okay.
Right, so if there was another example, because we do have, meandering around our sidewalks downtown because, people don't always get encroachment permits for sandwich board signs. If we want to have bicycle parking out there. I think Tucson raised a really good point that if this were a trend where people's buildings would start be pushing into our sidewalks in an already congested and often congested sidewalk environment, what are we doing? And maybe we need to look at this very carefully.
Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, I think it's a good idea to allow business as long as we provide additional deal with parking adjacent to it. So we still provide significant pedestrian movement access. I don't want to narrow up the sidewalk without dealing with, without adding to it somewhere else. I mean, there are places where allowing seating and stuff like that out in front of a restaurant or something like that makes sense on the public sidewalk. If they take out parking and widen the sidewalk to allow, to still allow like a 10-foot sidewalk. That's all I'm saying.
Well, this sidewalk is one of the wider ones. A lot of the ones on the main street aren't wide enough to be able to put 3-foot barriers or walls out there to have, and then still have 7 feet that you could get, because I think isn't it the ADA a 3-foot pass through?
Usually 4 in the
4.
city.
I was going to say it's at least 36 inches.
Okay, so it's kind of like 2 wheelchairs could get past. I don't know.
Hang on, Belinda. I just want to make sure that Tucson wraps up his thoughts before we move on, even though we're kind of in the same topic. I just want to check on that.
No, we can return to it after a public comment.
Okay. All right, so go ahead, Belinda.
Well, I was just working with Tucson on that understanding is kind of what, it's not like this was my thing. It was just, I'm kind of just going, we're all talking about the same problem and issue, or should I say issue.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not 100% comfortable either. Like, everybody's kind of a little bit uncomfortable with this, I think. I mean, I love the look. That's not an issue, unfortunately. If I hated the look, then I could get a lot, tighter with my feelings. But, okay, that's it.
I wonder if there's a width, if that 3 feet width is essential. Because I know 12 inches is a non-issue in our design guidelines. But this is asking for 3 feet, which I understand is maybe for the elements. Although, as we know, the north wind coming in, driving snow up that high is kind of meaningless. So something to chew on is that 3 feet essential? But Belinda, did you have anything else?
No?
Okay, Vaughn?
Well, I spent a little time since our last meeting looking at other buildings where there are protrusions out, maybe not 3 feet, but I know like even Pipeline has a little something that sticks out. And, I think if you've got 7 feet of space and across the street, I don't think you get that anyway. It'd be interesting, I guess, to look and see if 3 feet is required for the architectural look of this thing. But in general, I think they've already addressed everything else that we had concerns about. And what was really nice is seeing the positive comments from the next door neighbors. And so based on that, I don't have any objections to anything else that's going on.
Okay. Okay. Alan, do you have anything else you want to add?
I just want to be careful when we allow it so that we have a limit somewhere. In a downtown, 7 foot is starting to get narrow. I think a wider sidewalk is better where we can have it. And if there's another way of solving this architectural element, I'd like them to explore it. I don't want it to be just, oh, we can take 3 feet. If it's something they can do in another way, I think we should do it another way. I like the project. I think it's a good project. I want them to do this. And I like the element, but it seems like they might be able to satisfy that in some other fashion with less intrusion into our public sidewalk.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, I think these are all, I'm similarly concerned about the depth, because I'm not convinced that functionally that depth is really needed, because, again, we have wind, so I don't know, what, a 3-foot awning directly over a door, 7 feet, 8, I think Tucson said 7 feet, that's going to functionally keep people dry, keep the snow off and so on. But up that high, I'm not so sure that function piece is
Function.
as important. So yeah, well, let's find out what the project proponent piece is. There anything else? Oh, Belinda, go ahead.
Well, I forgot about the HVAC systems and the noise of the neighbor, because they're all on the neighbor's side. And that is a little concerning because they can be kind of noisy. And what was tested with 1, is that what it was?
1 or 2, I thought.
Yeah, and there's 7, something like that. I don't know. I don't know what to do about that. It's kind of like it's their right to be, there is kind of like it's a commercial district. You got to put it somewhere. You got to put that AC somewhere these days. But, and it's not easy to put it on the roof and then duct it. These are individual rooms, I would assume. So that's what the issue is. You don't.
Are they like mini splits?
They're
Yeah.
ductless mini splits, so they're variable speed, so they're not going to be loud continuously at their max decibel of, I think it was 55 decibel was what I looked up for these. So they're not going to run at 55 decibels continuously. They're going to ramp down at maybe be through a quarter of that sound limit when they're running at low speeds. It's only going to be like if all the rooms got turned on all at the same time and they were all cold, that would be the only time you would have the max noise coming out of them.
Okay. And did you have something else, Vaughn?
Yeah, the only thing else that comes to mind, because I don't disagree, I think the roof would be a great place to put those for noise mitigation, but wanted to point out that's not the busiest corner of that four-way intersection. So when I was thinking about the space, while I agree that, I don't know what the point of 3 feet is, but if there was a way to mitigate that a little bit and still keep the same design, I'm all happy with that. But I did want to point out that that's not a busier, and I don't anticipate it's going to get any busier on that particular corner there or that section of the sidewalk.
It's less infringement on the sidewalk than all the parking spot cafes downtown now.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything else, commissioners or Alan, before I open it up to public comment?
Oh, not me.
Okay, and Kyle, did you want to add anything before I open it up?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Okay, all right, so I want to open it up to public comment, and we'd like the project proponent to come up first, please. And when you come up, identify yourself, and then also if you can address some of the questions we brought up, that would be very helpful.
Sure thing, yeah. I'm just taking a few notes here. My name is Josh LaFrance. I am one of the owners of the building and project general contractor. Would love to just clarify a few things to kind of help you guys understand a little bit of what is happening. I think we can start with that patio side. We have 5 HVAC condensers currently mounted to the sidewall of the building. We've been running them this winter, providing heat to the Shasta Mountain Guides, the music store, and 2 other areas in the building. So those have been running and continuously. We haven't turned them off other than to service and clean the filters, things like that. So we do have those in place. There are a few more to put on, so we have that area designated for that, and the screening that Rad Studios has put on the architectural renderings to shield those. So that kind of talks a little bit about those. They are very quiet. They are ductless mini split condensers. We chose not to put them on the roof because of snow and just safe servicing. You know, we've got a 26 feet to the roof line. There's no guardrail. There's parapet walls around the 2 sides, but it's just way easier for service down at that ground level. And we're able to keep them up off the ground a bit so that snow doesn't get in the fans. To talk a little bit about the encroachment onto the sidewalk, the sidewalk's actually 11 feet, so we have 8 feet of clear space from the face of the A-frame to the curb, so a little bit more. We had this design tapered back initially, which did create some valid concerns that we addressed given the feedback that we listened to from you guys here on the commission, the public comments. We dropped those straight to the ground. Had our architect render those up, and then quickly had a meeting with the city staff, public works director, and the guys that ride the Bobcats around to confirm that clear path of travel for snow removal wasn't an issue. ADA, of course, isn't an issue. And so we got a sign off from Public Works. The building department gave a head nod. They were at that meeting. They can't fully sign off until Joe up in Etna reviews the full construction plans. So all things building related, ADA, path of travel, in the courtyard, in the side, that'll be addressed during that building plan review process. We haven't done any construction documents to date.
That's 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Todd.
Oh, you know what? Hang on, sorry, but we usually let the project proponent go
Okay,
on.
sorry. I'm new to the procedures here, as you can tell. So sorry.
You know what? Thank you. And for the proponent, we'll actually give him kind of as much time as he needs to answer our question.
Yeah, great.
So take it away.
So yeah, building will sign off on that once they see the actual construction details, which we'll put together based on this meeting. And so we've made the changes per your request to drop straight down and get rid of the angle. And so that's kind of where we stand, and we hope you'll find it favorable, even with a little more sidewalk than what we're thinking. So thank you.
Is there a way that you can make that less than 3 feet deep?
There is. Yeah, I think our architect was trying to get in on the meeting. I think he was having a similar glitch here at the front end. But yes, we can bring that back. I agree with you that, as far as snow and rain cover, it is a very high canopy, so that, there will be snow and rain blowing in there. So it is a bit of a, if it's a light rain, of course, you'll be able to get out of it. And we have seen, just with the current awnings and canopies around the building, they do provide nice weather protection as they currently are. And so this is obviously just a modification to those. And so to answer your question, we could reduce it to 2'6". I know there's
Construction dimensions of material too make.
Dimensions of material do make a difference. The cladding is 3 feet that we're going to be using going up. Structurally, talking with structural engineers, they would prefer, the tapered idea they didn't like. They said, oh, if we can post it straight down, it's much stronger. We won't have to. So,
Can you tell me how wide the planter is?
I don't
3
know.
feet seems large for a planter, so,
The planter is going to sit inside of the canopy, and I don't have the dimensions of that, but it won't protrude beyond the canopy.
well, I was just thinking that you could bring you'd want to have the framework come down so that you wouldn't trip over the planter. In other words, it would be out far enough, but if the planter isn't 3 feet wide, which I can't imagine it would really be that big, you might be able to shrink it back to compensate. I don't want
Sure.
the planter sticking out beyond whatever that would call post.
Makes complete sense, yeah. The planter will be flush with the face of the
Yeah, one way or the other, okay.
facade.
I think the width is like 4 feet, but the
The
length, but
depth.
the depth isn't,
2, maybe.
yeah, if that.
You want to be careful making them too narrow, though. Much of those planters are taken up by footing work and stuff like that. So I like them, I wouldn't want to go much less than 3 foot
Right.
in width. Depth, whatever.
You wouldn't want the planter to be less than 3 feet in depth, is that what you're saying?
Much less than 3 feet in depth, 30 inches, something like that is enough. But
Okay,
part of those planters have building footing under them, fairly shallow. So
okay.
don't make them too narrow.
Okay, so it sounds like we aren't going to get to talk to the architect this evening.
He's in the, okay, yes.
Yes, we are not, or yes, we will.
It sounds like he's connecting right now.
Oh, good. All right, so I think that answered most of our questions, commissioners, that we had. I guess you've seen and we'll talk to the architect. Is the architect available now? Can we talk to the architect as part of the project proponent team?
Not yet.
Okay, would someone from the public like to speak with us? Is there somebody there in the audience
Nope.
that wants to
The
speak?
audience is empty.
Oh, thank you. That's helpful.
Some people online.
Is anybody in the chat, anybody online wishing to?
It looks like Peggy Reich is up for a public comment.
Okay.
Peggy, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, good evening. I would like to draw the Planning Commission's attention to your municipal code 12.34.040. And according to the way I read it, any structure that encroaches onto city property requires permission and approval by the city council according to your own municipal code. And I'll read it per the municipal code 12.34.040, council issue permits. All encroachment permits that are not specified by 12.340.30 shall require the approval of the city council upon recommendation by the director of public works. So I think just to keep everything nice and tidy here, that if I was on the planning commission, I would want to have that in writing that, that they don't feel that this encroachment, which could set a precedent, as several of the planning commissions pointed out, that they get the the department to put that in writing, and if not, have the city council approve an encroachment permit. And then everything is really settled and everything's in the clear. And I think it's a good project. So, let's dot the dots and cross the T's, and then everyone will be happy. That's my comment. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
if you read that portion of the code that pertains to specifically to encroachment permits,
That's right.
and so this is not an encroachment permit. This is an architectural feature. It's different. I mean, if you guys want to take it to council, that's not how I'm reading the code at all.
Does it not encroach into the right of way?
It does, but that section refers to encroachment permits.
No, I know. Where's the line? If it's encroaching, it's encroaching. I'm just asking for clarification. Where's the line that it's an architectural feature? Could be a lot of things.
So I guess what it comes down to is that 3 feet from the Planning Commission's perspective, is that problematic enough to ask the architect to pull that back? I mean, we can bring it to council, but they're going to ask, why is this here?
Yes, I think it's too much. I think both of those should be narrowed. I think it should be pulled back. That's my feeling.
Or what is the criteria for, requiring an encroachment permit?
So let's go. Encroachment means the use or occupancy of any city property by placing, maintaining any objects thereon, or attaching anything thereto, or using the same as except public dedication allows, except as otherwise permitted by law. So by law, if Planning Commission approves this design, there's no reason to bring it to council.
I don't think taking it to council is the issue, actually. I mean, I appreciate Peggy's comments. I think what we're, so when I look at the, they talk about setbacks and yards, but the city sidewalk isn't a yard. A city sidewalk is public sidewalk. And so placing a private commercial piece of a building on our public sidewalk looks, from my view, more like encroachment than using the setback.
Well,
And so that's why this isn't easy. This is not easy, because I think the commission generally agrees. This is lovely and will be a lovely addition to our downtown. It's how can we do this in a way that looks to the future, and how can we get a hard definition of what is encroachment and how are we applying this?
I have another question. My question is part of that 11 feet just an easement, or is part of that 11 feet all city property? In other words, who owns all of or part of that 11 feet?
And
The right of way generally through town runs right at the face of the buildings. And sometimes right of way includes private improvements. It just does, in older towns especially.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well.
Well, doesn't the municipal code put all encroachments on the director of public works? And isn't that what we are doing by approving this? We're saying we're fine with it as long as the public works approves. So
That's what we're doing.
we're not saying you can do this without public works being approval. We're saying we're fine with it, but it still has to get approval from public works, which was how it reads to me for encroachments.
But first we have to say we're fine with it.
And to that comment, I think that's a great point, is we had that post-planning commission meeting, the last planning commission, where we had public works there and the folks that would do the snow plowing. They were fine with this. But again, in terms of design and what you guys desire, that's a different animal.
But even the council approval, it says upon recommendation by the Director of Public Works. So the Director of Public Works has to send it to council for approval, not us. The way I'm reading it.
But I think the part that we have is, so we're doing design review. Design review tells us it can stick out 12 inches, and that's fine. And
Melanie, I would like to say that this is really public comment period, not,
yeah, well, okay, did we have anybody else on from public comment?
I don't know, because we haven't offered it up.
Well, okay, so thank you. Because we do need to continue that, and I was wondering if the architect had been able to
David,
hop on.
it says David the architect
Yeah.
wants to speak.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Sorry about the delay earlier. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to, I appreciate going over this again. I wanted to piggyback off kind of where Josh took off there. The 3 feet, you know, that is at that height, architecturally speaking, dimensionally, there's a certain width that just feels appropriate relative to the height. Having that 3 feet gives the opportunity for us to have 4 columns spread apart. It gives us more lateral strength at that height. We could shrink it down to probably 2.6 without much issue there. But being that that building is unreinforced masonry, both myself and the engineer feel that it's better we actually don't physically tie into that building for other safety concerns, and it becomes a freestanding architectural feature element. I do want to also point out that before that feature was 3 feet deep, it's just that it was tapering back, but the planter below the taper was 3 feet. So the net clear of the sidewalk brought up in the last presentation is the same, being 8 feet. So that design element hasn't changed on how far it is coming out off the face of the building. It has always been 3 feet. And to my understanding, that was conditionally approved based on going through Public Works. And the big issue there was, can they get their implement around it to successfully remove the snow? Which, thanks to them taking the time to look at that with the owners, it sounds like they were okay with that. So I think everyone brings up a great point. How do you guys stop that in the future from happening where there's not as much room on the sidewalk? But I think that's certainly not my place to comment on at this time, and maybe another meeting for that. And I think there was a comment about the metal siding coming down to the ground on that. That is just a typical metal siding. We use that siding all the time on buildings, floor height and up. It's a heavy enough gauge to take a little bit of a hit, but it's that's what its main intention is. It's wall siding. So it is being used for its intended purpose there. So I think that's it. The comment about the ADA, we are having an ADA path from the ADA bedroom go through the alleyway and down to the back side of the patio. I think that was shown in one of the renderings I had done. But as mentioned previously, that will go through building and planning department, of course, and they will review that, making sure that we do meet that ADA code during planning with the construction drawings. So if you guys have any other questions, I'd love to help if I can, but I appreciate the time here.
It's 4 inches, we're talking about 4 inches here, that's what we're talking about, maybe cutting back by 4 inches?
6 inches? Is that going to make a difference? My main question is on the metal coming all the way down, what do you plan on doing for the corners? You know, the corners of the appendage.
In terms of finishing out, trimming it out, or?
Yeah, like a trim, like a metal corner trim or something that goes around.
Okay, yeah, great question. So the company that we've specified for the materials, PackClad,
and they make a prefabricated corner element that you tack down before you put up the siding. But the corner doesn't stick out very far. It's rounded, so it's not sharp. And it catches the sharp edge of the metal siding. And that way it makes it safe to the touch.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Did Belinda, did you have a question for him?
No.
Or Vaughn?
No.
And Alan?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that the structural requirements is the kind of thing that I was looking for in terms of you guys need to do this for this type of structure. Other buildings that just want to do it for a folly, we could say, well, no, there needs to be some real substantive reason for us to approve it. For me, given the fact that it's structurally required for these improvements, makes a big difference. So, thanks for the information.
Thank you.
Okay, so it sounds like our questions have been answered by the architect. So let's, thank you. And does anybody else want to speak to the commission from?
We have an audience member, April, I think.
Oh, good.
Hi, my name is April DeFrance. I'm one of the building owners. Just wanted to speak to a couple of thoughts that were shared. I did read the design guidelines every page, actually a couple of times over the last 15 months, and noted that there was a lot of emphasis on achieving some alpine themed design in the city of Mount Shasta, and believe that because of that and the A-frame structure, that really is the direction that the architect was leaning in, which makes this canopy make a lot of sense in combination with the will, I guess you could say, of the design guidelines. So that's kind of, just wanted to share that with the alpine theme. Another thing that I remember noting was the interest in providing shelter for pedestrians from weather. And so although the roof line of the A-frame structure may not provide that because of its height, I do believe the 3-foot sides would. When you have driving rain and snow, we envision pedestrians that are finding their way through downtown will probably cozy up to our building near that extension because it would provide a bit of protection from rain and snow. And then just wanted to mention in our meeting with Public Works, they actually brought up, and I think they would know better than any of us, how many protrusions and obstructions there are along the sidewalks in the downtown of Mount Shasta as they are navigating for snow removal. And they said this is definitely would not set a precedent because there are obstructions all throughout the downtown. And so their main concern, and they're the ones that requested to physically inspect the premises and bring the snow removal person down so that they could see the path of travel that would be maintained, and felt that it was definitely sufficient and said this would not be an issue. So I think it's in line with other things that are happening in the downtown. We're very grateful to have 11-foot sidewalks and this in front of our particular building so that we still have plenty of space for a variety of ways to travel along the sidewalk. So thank you so much for your time tonight and attention to our project. We look forward to making downtown more beautiful in the near future. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody raising their hand in the chat zone in the public that's not there want to speak to us this evening?
Nope, doesn't look like it.
Okay, then I'll close public comment, and commissioners, let's go at it again. How about if we start with you, Alan? Thoughts, comments?
I'll support the project. I would like to, if nobody else wants to support the reducing it to 30 inches, I'll go with the group, but I'd like to push it back a little bit if we can. That's all.
I know. Thank you. Yeah, I'm wondering, yeah, a finding around that, or, yeah. I wonder, just until you taught it, and I'll move on, but I don't know, just checking if we need to make any findings in support of what looks like an encroachment in this case, because it is unusual for us.
You mean citing the structural piece?
Right, because we are extending 3 feet or 30 inches onto the public sidewalk with a structural feature that's not in a yard, that's on the city street.
I think we should. Good idea.
Might be a finding so that we're looking at the big picture. And if this becomes a trend, like we have the sidewalk sandwich board signs are a trend that are part of our streetscape. What kind of finding can we make that will support this, that might not encourage this elsewhere? So something to chew on. Commissioners, how about you, Vaughn? You next. Thoughts, comments?
No, I honestly don't. I think if that's what they're saying structurally is needed, then I'm not having a problem with it.
Okay, anything else? Okay, Belinda?
Looking at the pictures, I realized there's also an awning on the other, awnings are lower and 3 feet out from the building, all up and down everywhere. And that, the A-frame, I'm going to call it an A-frame, even though that's not really what it is right in keeping, one side is totally up against the awning of the Shasta Mountain Guides, what will be. So it's already happening there like that. It's not like it's just the only thing that sticks out. So I'm good with that at the 3 foot. I think that the mini split thing, air conditioner stuff is addressed well, and they've lowered the lights. So that seems to be fine at this point. And I guess it said that they'll have to deal with the ADA with the building inspector, I guess, or whoever it was that's supposed to approve it. So that's not our problem. That's kind of their problem. Right? Is that what I've heard?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So then I'm okay with the additional potential finding that somebody gets to craft. The one that you were, good luck on crafting these findings. Yeah, so I'm good. Thank you.
The finding about the encroachment piece?
Yeah.
Stitch?
Yeah.
So Kyle, we're going to look at you about that. Warning. Okay, Tucson.
The only finding that I can sort of think of is that the 3 foot encroachment is okay just because there's another 8 feet of sidewalk to the curb. That there is actually the adequate space on that from the face of the building to the street. I just want to make sure that it's, going to be according to our own zoning ordinance and such. And I don't have the words in front of me to, make a very clear finding, but, that's, I don't think taking it back 6 inches to 2'6" is going to make really any difference. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Tucson. David?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, so it sounds like there's interest in a finding. Kyle, I don't suppose you have something you've been writing up while we've been talking that might help us through this?
Not in particular. Yeah, sorry, I'm not fully versed in all of the codes and such for Mount Shasta yet, but
No, fine, yeah. findings on fly aren't always the easiest. But I think it sounds like the gist of it is that we want to note that this is an unusual circumstance. It is taking a building and taking a, kind of a box and adding a strong mountain alpine theme element that wasn't already there. And in order to do that, they still allow us to have a wide sidewalk with adequate passage, whatever the word is.
Yeah, it seems like continuity of movement along the sidewalk would be maintained.
Okay, I see Alan's writing. I'm hoping that's what he's doing. Okay, or if anybody took notes on that, because I did not. But is that something that the commissioners sounds like something we want to pursue, a finding in support? I see a head nod from Alan. It's a little hard for me.
I would kind of like to hear what the findings sounded like before I say whether I'm into it. So that's all. So one of you creative people that have this in your head somewhat, what does it look like?
Are you writing, Alan, or was that just wishful thinking on my?
Melanie and Alan seem to be the ones that have this in their head better than I do, so I'd like to kind of hear what you might.
I'm trying to write. I'm not making much headway, but I'm writing.
Okay.
It could be the structure is an architectural feature that is consistent with the mountain theme encouraged by the city's design guidelines and allows for continuity of movement along the sidewalk.
And structural
Something like that.
Yeah, I would add that structural integrity part to that.
Mm-hmm.
The structural support that's needed by having it being 3 feet deep.
Support of the upper, of the whatever it's called, the facade.
I think the bottom line is that they already understood that we had a concern because of the protrusion and the fact that they're coming up still with the 3 feet even after paring back that one, cutting that thing, a couple of feet up. I think still tells us that they obviously think it's important structurally to have on there. If an engineer thinks it's important, I'm not one to argue with them.
Alan's still writing. A thesis. It's a thesis now, Alan.
Well, this isn't great. It's kind of wordy, but due to the special circumstances of low structural integrity of the existing building and the extra wide sidewalk allowing 8 foot of throughway, the Planning Commission supports a 3-foot building. What's it doing?
Architectural feature.
Element, an architectural element?
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Okay. Jeez, it's longer now still. So how do you want me to send this to somebody?
Well, you can just hopefully, we'll listen to you say it. It's going to be on the tape. I'm hoping that Kyle and maybe Todd are taking notes. And we can add it as a finding that way.
All right.
That work for you, Kyle, with the tape? I assume this is being recorded, yes? I'm assuming that was a yes.
I'm not sure. It's being recorded.
It's being recorded by Jeremy.
Better be recorded.
Jeremy's recording.
So we'll have that. So if Alan, if you can recite it, we'll have it on tape. The commissioners can hear it, so we can decide if we want to include this. We're good.
And I'm going to read it once. So if we want to have changes that Kyle makes in the tape, that's fine. I mean, from what I say. Due to the special circumstances of low structural integrity of the existing building, the extra wide sidewalk allowing 8 foot of pedestrian throughway, the Planning Commission supports a 3-foot architectural element encroaching into the right-of-way.
Which support, but I think we might want to add that it supports our architectural guidelines, the mountain, the alpine theme.
Okay, yeah, add that at the end.
Kyle, got that? Because, or where it fits, that in support of the design guidelines, alpine theme. Are you good? Kyle, you're nodding your head. Commissioners, I just want to comment that we did condition it last time we added the 3 conditions. It sounds like about the downward facing lights, and it looks like they have agreed to that. On the spec, I don't know if we need to add it again, because on the spec sheet for one of the lights, it does offer a 2-way light option or a 1-way light option. I hate to assume we're only going to use the 1-way light option. Or perhaps Kyle or Todd, you can weigh in. Do we need to add that condition because it's mentioned here in the staff report, or should we add that as a condition to ensure that we only have downward facing lighting? And it's easy to add it as a condition, obviously. Did you have an opinion? Kyle or Todd?
I think the sconce lighting, it was already a condition to have it exclusively downward facing.
It was a condition previously. It is not a condition in the staff report.
Oh, okay.
And because the lighting specs that we were given shows a light that has an up, down, and adjust down feature, that does not ensure that we're only getting downward lighting. So maybe perhaps if the commissioners are all right with that, I want to reinsert the downward facing as a condition of approval, that we only have downward facing lighting.
I thought that's what we agreed on last time.
That condition of approval did not get added to the staff report as a condition of approval for
Right, I
this current.
understand it didn't get added, but it's consistent with what we've already agreed to.
But we have agreed, but we don't have it as a condition of approval, and the specs we've been given are not explicitly downward facing lighting units.
Right.
Well, our motion of approval at the last meeting was the revised lighting plan submitted for approval to the city planner to include sconce lights exclusively downward facing and revised string lights shown below the fence line.
My understanding from talking to Kathy today is that we're in some ways starting from scratch on this with the plan with what we've been given tonight, so that the conditions we had last time are not conditions that are attached to what we
So
come up with.
we'll add that same condition to this meeting, basically.
Right, exactly.
So we need to add it if we want it, and I would like to have it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have an additional finding. We have an additional condition. Commissioners, I think it sounds like our finding has addressed the A-frame structure. This additional condition has addressed downward-facing lighting. We can also add the condition about the patio lighting being shut off at 10.
That's in here.
And the patio closed between 10 and 7, because I don't believe that is an existing condition of approval.
Yep.
The conditions we have now basically are just the cultural, the kind of the boilerplate cultural conditions, and they don't address the things we were concerned with last time.
Was it just there?
So is that and I can't see anybody's head to see if we have nodding or shaking. Do we want to reinsert? We could reinsert all 3 conditions. Well, or we could insert the lighting shut off at 10. Do we want to reinsert that?
Excuse,
Yes.
I didn't hear you, Melanie.
Do we want to reinsert condition 3 from our last meeting that says that the lighting on the patio will be shut off by 10 and the patio will be closed between the hours of 10 and 7?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we have 2 conditions and a finding to add. Anything else? I need Alan, yes, no? Vaughn? No.
No, nothing else.
No.
No.
Tucson? And David?
No.
Okay. And
I want to
maybe
know
the
if Kyle got all of this. Did Kyle get all of this?
Yeah, the 2 conditions and the finding.
And the lighting and the other things from the previous meeting that we put in?
Yeah, the
Okay.
hours for the patio and the patio lighting.
Okay.
And the downward facing lighting. Okay. All right. I think then we're ready for a motion.
Alan, why don't you make the motion, seeing as how you did that lovely, whatever you did, the writing essay.
I already did my part. I wrote the essay.
You wrote the essay. Don't you want to make the motion because you made that finding? No?
I move we approve the submittal as modified and
With the-
discussed
With all the
here
findings?
tonight.
With the additional finding and the additional 2 conditions?
Yes.
With the additional findings and the additional 2 conditions. Period.
I second it.
And I couldn't tell who the second was.
That was Vaughn.
Vaughn. Okay, so Alan moved, Vaughn seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, team. And congratulations. I'm looking forward to this lovely addition to our downtown. Okay, moving on. Item number, we don't have an item number 6, apparently. So we're going to move on to item number 7, which is commission and staff comments. Commissioners, comments?
I'll start.
Okay, please do.
The gas station there in town, the Valero, is once again hacking down the pear trees. I don't think we should let them do that.
Yeah.
They reduce the height of the pear trees every couple years because they don't want them blocking their sign, and I want them blocking their sign. And I don't think they're supposed to do their own pruning. That's it for me.
Okay, so Todd, did you catch that?
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Thank you. All right. Vaughn?
Yeah, there's a pile of tires at the corner of Rockefeller and Adams. It's unsightly. I don't know. Somebody's building a house there, but they cleaned off the lot but left like 6 or 8 tires just sitting there, and it looks like a junkyard.
It's in the Rockefeller.
I think it's to protect the sidewalk and the curb when they take their machinery over the curb.
Yeah, that's what they told me, but there's no machinery there.
There's not even sidewalk and curb, I don't think.
Yeah,
I think
so
there's a curb.
they should just take and bring their tires with them when they go to use it, I think.
So I'm sorry, Rockefeller and what was the other street?
Adams.
Adams, okay.
It's across the street from the entrance to Shasta Park.
Right.
Okay, I can have code enforcement take a look.
And then I know that I don't know, abandoned cars behind Parker's Plaza.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I know they have, if they move every 72 hours, they can stay there, but there's a few that are so full, I don't think a driver could get in them to move them, and they just move from parking spot to parking spot to parking spot. Yeah. I don't know, that parking lot's kind of getting bad back there.
It does look bad. Boat and mobile homes and motor homes, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Now, is our parking, I was just going to ask, is the parking code, they just have to move it, or could there be a limit on how long you can park in that parking lot, period? I don't know.
The last time I brought this up with Juliana, she said you can live in public spaces in your vehicle as long as the vehicle's moved once every 72 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
There you go.
Just put some really loud music out there.
Okay, anything else, commissioners? I have a couple things.
I was going to ask,
Sorry, please, Tucson, yes.
I'm not sure if if Teresa's on just a leave of absence or if she has actually resigned. Todd, could you speak to that?
Well, I can't talk about the specifics of it in public. Just there are some issues we're trying to resolve behind the scenes.
Could you say that again? I didn't catch that.
So there are issues we're trying to resolve behind the scenes with our city attorney. So that is as much as I can talk about at this time.
Okay, thank you. I was just wondering.
Okay, now, commissioners, anything else? If not, I was going to add a couple things. One is, I understand that if any of these trainings that come through that Kathy sends us, if they appeal to any of you and they require travel, the city will reimburse you for your travel expenses. And I had some opportunities for trainings over the years, and I found them very helpful. So if any of you can make it, I encourage you. And it's lovely that the city is supporting us to make that happen. So thank you.
So high-end hotels and everything, or what?
That would be a Todd question.
I don't know if there's a limit on it, but we'll make every effort to make it happen because it's so needed. I mean, and if you're already this involved with the architecture of the city, that, you know, why not? If you want to add to your knowledge base, we should make it happen.
Thank you. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. And then I have two other things, and one, I am aware that we have 3 fourplexes being built up on Carmen Street, and that's very exciting in terms of housing. It was very unusual because we are not doing design review on fourplexes, which has not happened before. So maybe, Todd, can you speak to us around that?
Sure. What they did is they took it, so it's affordable housing. They took advantage of the state's density bonus, which allows them to bypass architectural review. And they actually were allowed, they took advantage of 50% of the bonus, the density bonus, and they could have actually built another fourplex. Anyway, so it's, you know, if anybody wants to stop by the office, they're pretty nice designs.
Will they have lighting that is not mercury vapor lamps on the garages?
I can contact them.
Could you encourage them, if we can't do design review, can we encourage them to have neighbor-friendly lighting?
Yeah, we'll do.
I would really appreciate that.
Density bonus, that's a great thing, and I've worked with it in other communities, but I didn't, in the other places I've worked, it might have released you from certain specific architectural standards, but it didn't remove you from planning commission review.
It was cleared by the city attorney.
Yeah, okay. But, all right, okay.
Okay, and my last item I wanted to just chat about briefly is bicycle parking. And, you know, we have all of this exciting single track trail building going on in our community. And I think, and we're gonna have Grandeur next weekend. So I think it might be a good idea for us to really look hard at how can we accommodate bicycle parking that after somebody does their big fun ride and they want to roll into town and stop and have food and a beer, and they're not going to want to leave their $6,000 bike half a block away. What can we do? How can we encourage more bicycle parking for those situations? I saw in Portland, they're doing some fabulous things with converting vehicle parking on street to bicycle parking on street. I'd like to look at that for our town, because we're kind of a bike place, which I find really exciting.
It's a great point. So you were in pretty far with the Alta Active Transportation Plan. Let me talk to the lead planner on that and see if we can do something similar. I came from Portland and I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm a big biker, and I think you're right on track. Yeah.
There's some trendy, bike racks that some of the cooler towns have, like Yountville, California. They've got some, and I think that something like that would kind of add a little, it's a small investment to make a larger statement, and it also makes it more inviting for people to bring their bikes downtown instead of drive. And so, if we're going through the trouble of putting, kind of upgrading that one corner and kind of upscaling a little bit, maybe it wouldn't hurt to get some of these really cool bike racks placed, in strategic places downtown.
So it's a drop in the bucket, but the DIAC, we purchased a couple bike racks. We put a new one in at Parker Plaza. We need to find a place that fits, so we have enough space for people to get by. Yep. And put that bike rack in place. And we're working with the DIAC right now, and we have a design for how much space we need. So we need to be able to fit that template in.
Well, even if we used a parking space kind of a thing and just kind of demarcation thing, it would, either way is fine. I mean, I was thinking sidewalk, but at the same time, somebody's mentioned, using a parking space for something like that. And, if they were alternately spaced along the main part of town there, we want to, we're upscaling a little bit, and I mean that in a nice way, not that it's going to make our town look expensive, but it's going to make it look nicer. I think it's not going to hurt to do something like that.
They're typically called bike corrals. I've seen everything from a design in Portland where they designed your typical large 4x4 as a frame and took up a parking space to see how many bikes they could fit in there to park, to show how many trips they're saving in internal combustion engine vehicles by bringing your bike, which I think is kind of interesting. But there's a lot of things we can look at.
I just think it'd be a cool idea to invite people to, to ride their bikes into this part of town, and I think we should encourage it, especially since we're looking at the bike lanes and everything else. Might as well, give them some place to park them when they do that.
I'll bring it up with Alta.
Right. Well, I'm thinking about, again, where do you want to park your expensive bike and feel like it's going to, kind of keep an eye on it, kind of safe, protected, from lanes of travel. And like I say, Portland has some cool ideas about that. And then because it's city street, and if we convert, would the owner of the building in front or behind that parking space have any say in that? Or is that just kind of up to the city? Other than we would want to have a conversation, obviously.
Yeah, it's that. It's public right of way. I think we would talk to commercial owners along that strip and see who actually wants it and finds it a good idea, and kind of go with the path of least resistance and make it happen that way.
That sounds great. Well, good. Thank you for taking that up as part of our plan. I appreciate it. So now staff comments to us. If there are any staff comments we want to add?
I don't, other than I promise that the next time we're in the planning commission, we'll work out some of these kinks and we'll move on and figure out what we're going to do in terms of a permanent planner.
Thank you. Yeah, I can imagine this sounds difficult. So thank you. I think we did a pretty good job tonight, considering. So thank you for that.
Yeah, there were some hiccups, but we got through it.
Right.
Well, thank you for everybody's effort.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Okay, so future agenda items, I see 2 items that we may need to deal with soon. If you want to talk to that, Kyle or Todd, briefly. The Trails Association Trailhead proposal and the architectural review for 3897 Spring Hill.
So I am not familiar with B. A, the Trails Association Trailhead. I need to find out where that project is. I can tell you that there are various conversations in the city going on about trail locations, including negotiations with the owners of the Crystal Geyser property for dedication of trails there, and been working with Michael Williams, knowing that he's got a transportation background on on some proposals, but I don't know where this item sits. So
Where's the linkage down at the south end of town to the gateways, the new gateways?
yeah,
T2?
I just don't know what's been discussed up to this point, but I'll find out.
Great. And then the 3897 Spring Hill, is that imminent?
I don't know anything about that project. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well,
But I will.
all right, then I think there's nothing else. I'm going to adjourn until our next scheduled meeting, which will be Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. It's been a lovely evening. Thank you for all the thoughtful input. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Kyle, thank you for joining us tonight, Todd, and fellow commissioners.
Can somebody get me a nameplate?
Oh,
That's right.
I'll work on that.
Okay.
all right. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
All right, good night.
It's Sunday.